Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to the Coach's Corner video review. We've got a couple of guests on tonight. We're going to be looking at some video and trying to give them some tips and some direction on what they can do to improve their fighting. For those watching out in Facebook and YouTube land, please feel free to comment. We'll get to those as we can. We'll answer questions as best we can. Yeah, we're really excited to be doing this again. This has been hugely beneficial for a lot of unbelted fighters out there, and not just for the individuals been on the show, but a lot of you out there watching who have a lot of the same questions and a lot of the same problems that come up in these videos. So hopefully you'll be able to find some solutions to some of what you're working on as well. We've got joined by our coaches tonight, Duchess Sir Helga and Duke Thorfinn, both from the West Kingdom, two of the finest in the business for sure. And some of our regulars for this particular segment. Our guests tonight, we have Lord Paul from the West Kingdom, and we have Master Kieran from Aethelmearc. Before we get too deep into things, gentlemen, I first want to say on behalf of myself and the coaches, thank you for allowing us to pick apart your video. Again, this has been a series that has been pretty hugely beneficial for a lot of people in the fighting community, especially unbelted fighters. It takes a great deal of courage for you to come on here and have some of the best analysts in our sport tell you everything that's wrong with your fight. So we greatly appreciate it. We admire the courage that it takes to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and understand that, when we're pointing things out to you, there's no intention on our part to be cruel, despite Thorfinn's moniker down there at the bottom. We work a lot here on ruthless self-assessment, but that self-assessment, while it is ruthless, it is not cruel. It's not. We're not here to just tell you what terrible fighters you are. We're here to help you be better fighters moving forward. So that maybe you can also help somebody else out with the solutions that we have. Keep in mind as well that as we're looking at these videos, we tend to come to this kind of analysis from a perspective of isolating and eliminating deficiencies. And looking at the failures of what you're doing. There is a limit to how much better you can do something that you already do well. But when we can isolate a deficiency, when we can find out something that you're doing wrong or poorly, that provides an opportunity for much greater growth than, you're doing this thing great, so just keep doing that thing that you're doing great. So that's the perspective that we're coming from it. Again, it's not to tell you how superior we are in our fighting. It's like we learn more from our failures than we do our successes, and that's just a fact. And we all look at our training process from that eye, and so that's what we're going to be looking at. And that's why we told you when you send in videos, it's much more beneficial for this segment for us to look at videos and fights that you lost. And Karen, I know you said that the fights that you sent us that you lost are over way too quick, really short videos, but you'd be surprised. These guys are really good at what they do, and we're going to be able to find something for sure. So Helga, am I missing out on anything else?
Nope, I think you got it covered this time. I'm going to post the video review breakdown Google Doc that we have into the comments so everybody can follow along and use it as they want. And I just want to say thank you very much to both of you guys showing up tonight.
All right. Thorfinn, you got anything you want to
add? No, you guys pretty much nailed it. Again, like we said before, though, thanks a lot. And don't worry about those short videos, because a lot of times short videos can tell a lot. So, we can work with you. So,
yeah. All right, let's go. All right, before we get to the video, let's do some introductions. Paul, would you be kind enough to tell us a little bit about your fighting experience?
Yeah. So I'm Paul. I've been fighting for about 2.5 years now. I started in April of 23 or 22. I didn't go to my first event till March of 23. I mainly go to the Bart practice out here in West Kingdom. And yeah, I did a tiny bit of martial arts, a little bit of archery, things like that growing up, but never any sort of HEMA background or anything as an adult. Always running around and hitting my older brother with a stick though, so that comes in a lot.
All right. And Kieran, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself a little bit? Are you on mute?
There we go. I'm Kieran. I'm Laurel from Aethelmearc, and I've been fighting since 2009. So for about 16 years, although at the time I was also pursuing my scribal arts and was kind of double majoring, as it were. And yeah, very much coming at this from not your typical, really athletic kid or background, but have so the lessons that I'm learning are harder for me than for probably a lot of you, but it's been a worthwhile journey, and I'm looking to get better. Squired to Duke Byron in Aethelmearc. We're in the debatable lands, Pittsburgh area, so we're 45 minutes away from Penzic. Sorry, not sorry.
Somebody's bragging.
Oh, so much bragging.
All right. Well, again, thanks guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Slides, PDF, videos, share screen. Let's see. We're going to pull up one of these ones for Paul.
Do we have an under-over bet starting this? How many technical problems we're going to have? Because there has to at least be 2.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, for sure, right? And then one of the videos for sure will be either pixelated or just not work.
In fact, are you seeing the video? I'm not seeing it.
Nope.
See, that happened fast.
Well, I'm glad we're getting it out of the way right away.
We're getting it out of the way early this time.
Yep, just moving right into it.
U-tab. Hey, there we go. How's that?
No.
Son of a
You
bitch.
got to share screen.
Yeah.
I did share screen. So let me stop sharing that one.
Is that a Vuvuzela behind you,
Oh, I don't know.
Kieran? On the
No,
shelf?
that is a cheap Middle Eastern instrument that I played for a friend of mine's Elevation who does Arabic persona. I have a vuvuzela and like a crap ton of other brass instruments.
Why is this not
Right on.
Right on. I just always like staring at all the stuff in people's background pictures, even on Facebook. Like they're like showing a new outfit, and I'm like looking at the books on the bookshelf. Oh, that's cool.
Is this showing? Are you guys seeing this?
No, we're not seeing anything yet.
This is the best.
I'm trying to fill
Isn't
some
it
dead
sharing? It says sharing screen. Streamer is sharing from the window. Doesn't say hide. Doesn't say no. What's going on? What the fuck?
So, well, Sean's figuring this out. One of the geek outs we have on this behind the scenes a lot is, and I already texted it with something that you said, Kieran, about like basically you were apologizing for not being good. And that's actually something that we really, really encourage not to happen with any of our students, because that's actually a very closed mindset. It's already setting yourself up for failure. So you're putting yourself in a box that you then have to prove yourself against to get out of. Versus, like, I'm working on X right now, so I may not be as successful. It like a win. Winning should never be a victory condition and should never actually be part of your goal set. It's an accidental byproduct of good timing, footwork, range control, and a little bit of luck. And as we get better, we can produce more and more wins. But if you actually take winning almost completely out of the training and everything else like that, what it'll help you do is actually develop a better mindset to like look at the problems. So when you're walking into a video review like this, you're not excusing away like something else. So like I'm new, or I'm starting at an older rate, so I'm still learning how to use my body in this because I wasn't athletic as a child. So now I'm learning to be athletic as an adult, which feels like a harder learning curve. So I'm having to overcome some of the mental and emotional barriers of being older in a sport that is typically dominated by 6 foot plus dudes in their 30s. And so starting to have those conversations around your fighting will actually make it to where your brain takes on new information faster, by the way, because then you're not always proving against a negative. Does that make sense?
It says I'm sharing a window. I'm not sharing a window.
And just to let you know, I was the kid in soccer that was afraid of the ball. So I've gone on to be okay at this activity. So don't worry about that previous athleticism thing. It's all about building a set of skills and muscle memory forward. So no worries.
Oh, we almost got video share.
Did you see something there for a second?
It switched to the background screen for a second and then back to the everyday screen.
It says that it's sharing. StreamYard is sharing a window.
I don't know StreamYard at all, so I don't really know this app.
This worked last time.
It did, yeah.
So that's actually odd that it's off. Though we were having technical difficulties all day at work.
Oh, yeah. My internet's been stupid all day, too. So,
Paul, how good's your internet right now?
I'm such an idiot.
Is it present? Like,
are you guys seeing that? Are you guys seeing anything?
No. So Paul's our technical square, and everybody's got screen share. Paul, can you take over showing your video? You've got you do the typical stuff anyway, so he's absolutely trained the way we do video review. We do it on the server all the time. So
which video are we starting with?
Well, one of yours.
Favorite one, let's go.
One of yours. Yeah, your favorite one.
Listen, how many people we need to come up with bad peer jokes of how many peers to share a screen. I just know my internet here will not support it well.
Yeah, I'm switching providers because of that right now.
No, not that one.
It's like tanking a bunch on me, so I'm like.
I actually wonder if we're having a bigger technical issue with the other service platforms right now, because we were having problems with screen share on Discord today.
Oh, okay, that is weird.
Is this viewable?
Nope.
No. That's just me then.
Nope, it isn't just you.
Let me try this again.
Okay, there he is.
So it's if we're looking at the internal layout of StreamYard, I've got a second window. It's waiting for approval.
Okay, there you go. Hang on just a second.
Okay, I see. All right on. See, look at that. We're good at this.
Good Lord.
That was
way too many. I need to see more jokes in the comments about this.
Jesus.
God, no kidding.
Maybe I should just stick to picking apart fights.
That's His Majesty Sigurfrith fighting Paul right now.
Yeah, so this is my night.
All right. Is that? This is a stupid question. Is that full speed or is that half speed?
It's full speed.
Okay. Shared screen, just like adding a guest. Let's select. All right, I'll have to look at that later.
So he came right over top my shield.
Yeah, so let's go back to where you get legged.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to play it slow?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes, that's the best way to do it. Is like half speed, probably.
Hey, Paul, do you know the shortcut for changing the speed?
No.
So it's
I know the
the
frame by
shift,
frame.
and then it's the arrow that's above the comma.
Okay.
If you do shift and do those arrows, it will change the. It's a hotkey shortcut for changing the speed.
So he clips the inside of my inside thigh right as I step in.
Yep. You end up in the right leg lead, and that's just right there.
Yeah.
Nice return leg, though.
Yeah, it was actually. I was saying, nice job on the getting him back.
He thought he hit knee, and I was like, no, it's just above the armor there. And this is a 75% speed it up just a little. We have this exchange. I tried to close. He tries to shield hook. He asked me about this one, or I asked him about it. It was the corner of my shield that hit my head, though. And he tries the same thing. And then he closes and wraps. Any,
You want to load your other one, Paul?
Yeah,
Sure.
you got another one.
Paul's like, I have so many.
So let's go me and Theron part 1. This is actually 3 exchanges where we arm each other a million times. It's a little hard to see.
Yeah, the
We can
lighting's
chat
kinda
about this for a
sketchy.
second. My general feeling against fighting Theron is I can't figure out how to hit him around his big shield. He holds it out and kind of almost punch blocks with it sometimes. And so he just closes that cone.
Yeah, he's using it like a cone style defense, which is probably how I would probably do it as well.
I'm also more patient fighting him right now in some ways because he thrusts a ton. Right now it's a bit of a pattern that he does, but so there he thrusts my bicep.
Yep, I was about to say that was like mid bicep. I had to leave a good bruise.
I leave my arm hanging here again in a second as well.
So I'm going to ask a question here. Paul, why are you not threatening his sword arm at all?
Usually because I can't see it and I didn't realize it's a target. I finally start to realize that here.
All right, can you move back about 5-6 seconds? I want you to watch how he walks in on this and where you're actually looking at the threat. You're gonna have to go back just a little bit more. I mean, almost a previous exchange. Yeah, here. See how he's setting up, and that arm continues to float right at the edge of the shield.
Yeah.
That is a viable threat. When the arm is past the edge of the shield out there, especially with that hand curled up, there's no way for this to act. This is absolutely a target. He's basically exchanging it for the edge of that shield because he's used to people not hitting him for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and where it became a viable threat, for you to take it once you started throwing a Molinet into it because he's leaving it hanging. You should be able to just throw that flick right in between his wrist and his elbow, and it's going to land a bunch, especially if you take it with a lateral step.
Okay.
But right now, I'd say that the bigger one is the reason why you're having a struggle fighting him is you are fighting center mass, and there is no lateral. So that cone defense is like the strongest right there. Is you've got to get him to move, and he's already got you in reach.
Yeah.
And
I keep underestimating his reach as well. What was that, Paul? I keep underestimating his reach. Like I keep misjudging it. He doesn't fully extend a lot. We chit chat for a second. And so then when he does, it surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the arm spot you're talking about, right? Where he's got his arm replacing his shield edge.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. This is from Armander. It says on Theron's night, take that forearm anytime you see it hanging out there. As you were saying, Helga, seems like his knight agrees with you.
And then the other thing I think about Theron is he's too hesitant to like I go into wrestle a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do it back. He doesn't push me off at all, really, except for that. Because I think he's from the EMP background, scared of wrestling too much.
All right.
Oh.
I think I've got enough.
Yeah.
Thorfinn, let's start with you. What are you seeing?
Okay, so in the first fight, the reason like you're getting legged and things like that is your shield's out of position, and so Sig's just cutting through that line, and you went the opposite direction of. So if your shield stance, if you're gonna have that right leg kicked forward like that, you have to have that bottom corner of your shield out to defend that area, and you've got it actually set up to the opposite, and so there is a like almost a clean line straight through to your leg.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's the big hang up there. And I the first thing that jumped to my mind was that you're not adjusting how your shield is in neutral position between different stances. So you're leaving one stance and you're leaving your shield in the other traditional defensive position. So that's where I would say first off, you could start working on, and that's something you can do with the Pell or even in footwork drills and things like that, making sure that you step, you're covering. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely holding it in one spot, and when I transition, when I'm taking a passing step, and I feel like I'm leaving my shield behind. If that makes sense, right now, I do that against Jonathan a lot here too, actually.
Yeah, this is some of the other ones you had submitted to us there. So, all right, I'm going to address the question that got brought up here very briefly. When we're talking about the cone of defense, basically what that is the further away your defensive tool is away from your body, the more coverage it provides because you're able to intercept blows that are coming in further away. So if you have your shield right up close to you, you have just the surface area of your shield to cover that with. But if you extend that out a little bit, you're able to intercept things, and it creates a cone, kind of a cone of defense around you, such that it's you don't have as much a straight line at those targets where you would if you had your shield directly up against your body, because there's only so much coverage you can get off the shield itself. That doesn't necessarily mean, with like for center grip shield like Theron was using there. I mean, you don't want to stick your hand all the way out there because it's just a lot of work. And the shield's going to get heavy, and he's
a strong boy.
It's just not a good plan. But if you can have your shield away a bit, or if you can change the angles that are extended out, so instead of having your shield flat up against you, if you can maybe put a leading edge out, that changes the cone of defense. It changes the angles that are available for the shots that are coming in, because you're able to intercept those further out instead of just having your shield right up against you and then having to block whatever comes in.
Right.
Hope that makes sense.
A way to picture it is like when a goalie leaves the goalie box, and the reason they do that is that the further out they go, it actually covers more of the goalie box. It seems like it would do the opposite, but they just present less target behind them, and because the angles come off of it in a way that makes it so the target just disappears. And so that's kind of like the cone. And cone works best with kind of center grip type shields because of the nature of the beast. But.
And you guys are you guys seeing this video now that I actually did it right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Helga, you want to throw out what you got there?
Okay, so a little bit of a cheat code. Paul and I were working together last weekend on his balance. So I'm going to fill that in, and then I'm going to go to the side effect of what we did. So last weekend, we were working on the fact that Paul was actually physically looking up at his opponent with his chest, which was putting his feet ahead of him. So he was heel stepping.
Yeah.
And basically how we see that is like somebody will rock back on their hips, and then that forces you to step on your heels. You cannot be in a balanced step. So we worked on pulling his belly button forward and getting him balanced. We're already starting to see that in this video here. So cheat code about that, because this feedback builds on that. One of the things that's happening, Paul, is now you've gone back to a really long stance at the edge of measure, which is actually killing your ability to have any lateral motion at the edge of measure, which is part of what's happening with Thorin. Theron. So as you're walking in, you're making this big, long step, and then you're stepping into a box stance. Instead, we need to bring that back foot up a little bit. You can still be longer at range. That's fine. We want this adjustment. But you've gone from looking back to now basically being as long as possible. And this is likely due to his height, because you're either putting your stick out as far as possible, as close to catch that, or you're putting the shield as far as possible. So you're trying to beat his range by making your feet longer instead of fighting a little smarter. So, and this is, again, we've got you better balanced. And now at the edge of measure, which would be the edge of C range. So at the edge of measure, this is another question that just came up. The edge of measure is when your opponent, so there's two edges of measure in any fight. Your opponent's edge of measure and your edge of measure. This is where you can make one step to hit somebody. So technically it's the edge or the outside of C. So you're either in measure or you're out of measure, and then you can break it down to the ranges. So right now what's happening at the edge of Paul's opponent's measure, he's at a really long stance because he's basically trying to launch through it, instead of making a calculated step and making a little bit of lateral motion, especially in a heavier footed fighter, which both of your videos have a heavier footed fighter. You're choosing to meet them kind of like at their intensity level, but you're like literally like launching through that edge of measure to try to survive it. And so this is where like video analysis turns into headspace analysis. We need to slow you down a little bit. We need to make you start looking at your opponent when they start stepping up and getting stiff or anything else like that, because you're short as shit like I am, which means you're always going to basically be beat at the edge of measure. They're going to have a better range than you. And so this is where we start developing you watching your opponent. And so when they want to start throwing, and you already have the little brain tinglies going on, because otherwise you wouldn't be trying to launch through it.
Yeah. Like they throw and I jump in.
Yeah. And so now we need to get you thinking about, if they throw, can I make them throw in a purposeful spot? Can I get them to unload so I know where their offense is and I can step through it? Or can I make a motion that makes them want to reset? Can I make a motion where he wants to stick his arm out, so when I step in laterally, I can rip it off?
Yeah.
And so this is where, again, like going into a slightly deeper side of video analysis, we got your balance up, and now it's messed with how you're assessing range. And so we need to go back to now assessing range and keeping your balance. By the way, good job not heel stepping terribly. You are midfoot falling pretty damn well. The other thing that I would say is that you're really lugging your shots. I'm not sure why yet. I'm going to have to watch them a little bit more. But you can see, especially as you're getting closer and closer, you're bearing down through your body, and you can see that like flex, and then you're throwing. Versus at much smoother at range right now, there's a much smoother motion, and your recovery smoother. In range, it seems like you're trying to like gather yourself real fast, and we saw that in like the SIG video. More especially legged, is like you are just jerking your shoulder to get it back instead of lifting your elbow and asking your stick to come back and leaving that smooth. And so that's something else to watch for, is like, why is that occurring? Do you think you know?
I do.
I don't think I have a, I don't have a specific reason right now.
John?
No, that's exactly what I was going directly towards. So when you're done, Araya.
No, please feel free. I have talked for like 5 minutes now.
All right. So what I'm seeing just goes really very much along with what Helga's talking about here. You are advancing range with an urgency that is bordering on panic. And again, that's I have to get through range faster. Being shorter, this is a pretty huge tendency, because what is for you to get to where your B range is, where you can have ideal mechanics on your shots, you have to get through the ideal range, that B range of people who are considerably taller than you, right? And so this is a very common occurrence amongst shorter fighters, for sure. But the reality is, you can't be concerned about what your opponent is going to do to you. The moment you become concerned about what they're doing to you, you're done. The fight's over, like, entirely. You have to figure out how you navigate, how you get to your ideal range. Your B range, for me, I define the B range as that place where I can put the sweet spot of my stick on my opponent's temple. Because if I can put my stick on his temple, I can hit anything, right? And that is where I feel like I have the best access to the most targets with the easiest mechanics, right? So from an offensive perspective, you need to be focusing on how you get to that space for the sake of you having offensive range, right?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't you have to be aware of where you are within measure, where you are within your opponent's ranges. You have to be aware of that, but not concerned about it. So what you're doing is you're jumping into range, you're running into range, trying to like, again, there's this sense of urgency to kind of get through, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is the difference between, say, C range and B range is a foot span. It is literally a foot span, and it's your foot span because it's your range. It's not 12 inches. It's not 8 inches. It's your foot span, right? When you think you're ready to engage, just take a step, really, because as you take that step, what is the worst possible outcome that you could get from your opponent? They're going to throw at you, right? That's as bad as it can get, right? So, but you take a step. If you think you're ready to throw, go ahead and take a step. So there's that. The other side of it is, the way I would describe what's happening with your mechanics is that you're swinging for the fences. Every shot you throw is a haymaker. Every shot you throw is it looks to me like you are trying to hit hard. And that's where you're getting started and you're like heaving back and then throwing. And also with where your hand position is kind of back a little bit, it's sort of similar to the same position that I use, but yours looks really uncomfortable. It looks like you're just really not sure of where your hand is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, and this was kind of addressing what Helga was talking about, the reason that your recovery is dead. Hang on a second. Your recovery is getting deadened because you're putting so much power into the delivery. And so as you do the delivery, it's like you're plowing through on that. And because of that, your recovery, like your sword has to kind of go dead in your hand. And then you have to recover after that, right? And it's because you're trying to throw harder. I'm really not a big proponent of the idea of, throwing harder. I always believe you have to hit better, and hitting better means you're going to have better angles. You're going to have a better snap on the delivery right at the end of the point of impact. You're going to have, better shots to be throwing at in the first place. But like every shot you're throwing is because it's all these big haymaker things. That's why your recovery is dead, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does it make sense? Helga, does that kind of jive with what you're seeing?
Yeah. From a technical side, one of the things that his recovery is really messed up, or not really messed up on. Sorry about that, Paul. I was about to be snarky AF. Normally Paul is really good about lifting his elbow in that recovery to preserve to get that arm back to 90 degrees to get back to power. And you can see in that elbow is dropping. It's like he's lugging it back to his shoulder, and you can see it very visibly in the video. And I think that's one of the things is, Paul, you were working really hard on like get your hand back up into position to rethrow, and it just kind of got thrown away. And so one of the things that I'm just going to jump on this train real quick and use it as a good segue in video review and in training in victory conditions. Ta-da! The thing that Sean and I spout off way too often is Paul right now he came into this practice, and I'm betting that one of your victory conditions directly came out of the tournament you were just in, which was your balance. And when we're working on one thing, something else falls apart sometimes, especially when we're hyper focusing on it.
Right.
And so we have to remember in video review, one of the things we did not do with Paul right out the gate was, what were you working on that night? And that's actually a legit question right now, because we as trainers just absolutely forgot to do the first most important thing.
Yeah, wasn't thinking about my arms at all. My upper body at all. That whole practice. In video review is asking your students or asking who you're reviewing, what were you working on at that moment? Because sometimes what we're going to see is literally a side effect of they're so focused on one part of their fight that everything else just falls away. And I think what ended up happening is Paul's arm just went to shit. And so we saw Paul's fight from almost a year ago show back up with his arm, where he's just like, he's trying to flex like he's showing off for the women on the sidelines, instead of the smooth motion that he's kind of come to develop in the last couple months. And so, Paul, let me restart this for a second. What were your conditions that night? Not heel stepping, and that's it.
That was it?
That was the only thing. Well, showing up and not heel stepping.
No. I'd say that you made it. You're still diving through the edge of measure, so that would be the side effect that I'd say that came out of your victory condition, is that you went from there. And now we have the data points that when you're working on your feet, your arm just goes to hell.
Yeah, you can, like, if you look at any of my practice videos, if I'm heel stepping with my shield foot, I'm thinking about my arms. If I'm not heel stepping with my shield foot, I'm thinking about my feet, and I can't.
So, Helga, I'm gonna jump on this grenade here too. So my answer to this is always going to be pelt work. You've been at this for less than 3 years. Looks like your mechanics really are basically about where they should be for a 3-year fighter. It's not bad, but you need to. Okay, well, first off, are you doing pelt work on a daily basis?
I do some amount every day. Yeah.
You do some amount every day. Okay, that's fine. Doing 5 minutes a day is far better than trying to, do an hour and a half on a weekend to catch up for what you missed out on. Right. Pelt work is an everyday thing. You may need to, there is often a disconnect between what we're doing in pelt work and what we're doing in combat, in sparring. And the reason for that is, and this is a very common disconnect. You watch somebody and they just have perfect pelt work, not even combos, but just like perfect mechanics on all the shots they're throwing. Everything's great. And then you come out when somebody is trying to do you bodily harm and they're trying to throw sticks at you. And all of a sudden you're concerned about all of that. And then your stick mechanics just go completely to shit.
Right.
And so we need to do pelt work to the extent that these mechanics are fully ingrained in your body. You get them deep in the muscle memory. So when you go to fighting, you don't have to worry about how a shot is supposed to go. You don't have to tell your body, I have to rotate my hip, I have to extend, my hand has to be here, my angle has to be here. You need to be doing pelt work enough that those things are just automatic and they're just in your muscle memory. One of the things we hear of, one of the differences between amateurs and professionals is an amateur will do it till you get it right, but professionals do it until you can't get it wrong. And like I said, pelt work is an everyday thing. If you're doing 5 minutes, that's great. But I can tell you are not going to become a godlike fighter in 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at, and really, if you could get a half an hour of pelt work every day and just mindful, just deliberate pelt work, making sure that you're understanding the mechanics, making sure that you're giving yourself the time, your body to understand those things. If you can find a half an hour, like not even in one block, but just 3 minutes a day for 10 times, or 3 minutes, 10 times a day, just everywhere you go. The holidays will be here before we know it. So if you're wrapping presents for your friends and kids, that wrapping paper tube always turns into pelt work. Guaranteed.
Every stick.
I was doing
it with the mop the other day.
I talk about water bottle pell work all the time. You pick up a water bottle, you pick up a thing of iced tea, just swinging that around. It's always pell work, right? But that's what I'm seeing in where those mechanics are.
Okay.
And Helga's right. When you start focusing on one thing, everything else, not everything else, but other things are going to suffer because of it. You need to be okay with that. You need to have an understanding. It's like, if this is the practice where you're practicing not heel stepping, then like that this is where your stick mechanics are. But that also tells us you need to go back to pelt work to make sure that those are fully ingrained. So that is one less thing that you have to think about. And also you can be doing this footwork drills as well, so that you don't have to be thinking about your heel stepping.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be thinking about your mechanics. And you can just, now we can talk about, how am I going to get to range? What steps do I have to take? How do I not jump through range to be able to get to that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I'm going to kick this back to Thorfinn real quick. Thorfinn, you got anything else you want to throw out there?
Okay, so my first observation, once Helga asked you about what was going on, was your thinking now, right? And so in the moment, it's stopping to think about any one activity, and you're oftentimes doing 3 or 4 activities at once, is going to make all the rest suffer as you focus on the one. So that makes sense to me, that why your blow select or your blow power generation is very awkward, because you were actually just thinking about your feet. Now, that ties into the pell work thing that Sean was talking about. When you're doing your pell work, you want to make sure that you're just doing all the right balance, all the right step. Your shield is in the right position as you move into the blow. And this is going to build that layer of fundamental skills that will become super important across your fighting career, right? Then you'll have that comfort zone to be able to move into range, or be able to produce 3 and 4 different activities all at the same time, right? So that's one of the things there. And that's why your blows look like you were doing 2 different actions. You were doing a swing, and then you were also doing I have to reload, instead of having a fluid motion where you hit and reload automatically, right? Okay. You were so busy thinking about something else that your body was having to remember to do those things. And that's why this type of kata, like grinding type of behaviors, like doing the pell, doing all these things, which they're not glorious, they're not fun, let's be honest. But this is how you get that muscle memory, which is going to be the foundation of your fighting skill going forward forever. And when you're doing this pell thing, like Sean's saying, you could do 30 minutes a day, but don't feel like you got to beat up the pell.
Yeah.
Right. I'd rather have you work on having the blow and your mechanics be good versus hitting the pell hard. The pell is not going to die. So you don't need to beat up the pell. What you can do, though, is you can then learn to have every blow be perfect as you swing, right? And that's the main function of the pell work. And guys, it's super. We do a lot of it at my local practice. And it really helps a lot. So everyone out there, give that pell a little bit of love. And
hey, Thorfinn,
Paul, you're looking good, in my opinion.
Yeah, we got a question on this, and I'm gonna throw up here. So, do the coaches have any opinion on slow shadow boxing when somebody is in a department without a pell?
I have no problem with
that. Yes, we have an opinion, and the opinion is do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather have you do it like this than not do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually don't have a pell right now. I go to touch on door jam.
Yeah.
I used to do the same thing. Yeah.
Totally.
And just
and that's why I talk about water bottle pell work. You can grab a water bottle. My recommendation is first drink the water, because you were chronically dehydrated anyway.
More than likely, yeah.
Let's do that, and then you just grab it by the mouth and just go through the motions. Now I will say, having a pell and a sword is always better than not having a pell and a sword. Always better, no doubt. I'm not. But
is there a telephone pole in your neighborhood?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Somewhere down the road, there is a telephone pole near a park or something. You can definitely find a place to go and do these things. Even a yardstick is really, really good, because a yardstick's sword length, it has edges like a sword, and it's about the same length as a sword.
Yep. Perfect.
like I've said before, if you walk by and you have a club in your hand, everyone thinks you're a crazy person. But if you have a yardstick, you're just measuring shit. Everyone's like, that guy just measures stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. And so definitely it's a much like society wise, real society is going to be okay with you having a yardstick around. So you can also learn range really well, things like that. So very, very helpful tool.
There are many different things you can do without having an actual Pell. And again, having a Pell is better, but do not let the fact that you do not have a Pell, don't let that keep you from not doing Pell work. I mean,
exactly.
It is. I'm a huge proponent, and you know, you got to make it up. You got to, if where you live is not conducive to having a stick that you can beat on, and you know, we all teach the stick mechanics that we teach are Pell work is minimal to zero impact to begin with. Like it's slow speed, slow impact, right? You're not firing, as fast and as hard as you can. Kieran, you got a question there?
I think he's got a statement.
Yeah, because I'm in an apartment as well, but I have discovered an indoor Pell solution.
Go ahead.
And so I took one of those. I got one of one of those porch umbrellas, but I took the base of it, fill it with water so that it's stationary and it's heavy. And then I think it's an 1.5 PVC, and you have to bulk it up so that it stays there. But I put a 6-foot PVC pipe in the umbrella base, and then I took pool noodles and duct taped them to the head, chest, and knee heights, and that there's no way you're going to practice for power on the Pell. And a fringe benefit that I found out from a buddy of mine is that you can also work on pushing through a shot really slowly. So because it gives, you can make contact with the Pell and then work through that shot, bend that sucker over a little bit so you're not surface targeting, just really, really, really slowly. And that's what I've been doing.
That's perfect. Yeah, there are plenty of options, and like I said, don't let not having a Pell keep you from doing the work that you need to do. So, let's see. All right, just checking our comments here. So, thanks everybody for the comments and questions. I think at this point, first off, so Paul, do you have any questions about anything that we've talked to you about? Is there anything you don't understand? Is there anything you need further clarification on?
I don't think so. Most of it makes sense. A lot of it's stuff that I've touched on in little parts, but not had together, if that makes sense.
All right.
One of the things that feels weird in my fight right now, and this is sort of related to the Pell work thing. When I'm doing my Pell work, I know where to put my hand. And there's one spot, and I'm here, and I do my things. As soon as I start fighting, I end up drifting all of this down and forward, and I'm having to remember to go, oh no, I need to be back at my 0 point. And I don't understand why that is happening for the most part.
I have ideas. But...
Part of it is I'm relying on this block to block my side, but it's like I'm mixing two different styles of like I'm mixing A-frame and the normal Westie style at the same time without paying attention.
I think we all have something on this. I'm going to pitch to Thorfinn first.
Okay, so yeah, this is what it is. It's confidence. You're not sure where you're at in your fight right now. So what you're doing is you're kind of giving yourself a crutch towards your defense, and which is now you're having to reload your shot. So this is slowing down your shot selection. And I think you're doing it out of a sense of feeling safe, right? Is that you're like, I'm more comfortable here knowing that I'm blocking already instead of being in a neutral position and trusting yourself, which is all that is going to be working on those fundamentals we talked about, and then helmet time, because both those things work together to become experience.
Okay.
And so I think that's probably why you're doing that. It seems I've seen this a lot with kind of newer range fighters is that they're trying to cover all their bases instead of just trusting in the fact that they're going to be able to block. All right. So you have to remember that your defense has to be good enough to block while you're doing movement and swinging and plan, and observing. So there's, like I said, there's sometimes 4 or 5 things going on, and you have to get comfortable with that. And it's an uncomfortable situation. Someone's trying to hit you with a club. So,
all right, Helga.
I have no notes. Thorfinn just covered it for me.
All right. My recommendation was going to be, honestly, just put your stick on your shoulder.
Okay.
That's where
force yourself, right?
Yep, that's where good basic mechanic come from. You're not comfortable with where that stick needs to be right now. Part of you having it off to the side also means that you're going to be using lever action to start your shots. You're using lever action at the rotator, which is really bad news for your rotator.
Okay.
If you put your stick on your shoulder, you don't have that. The only place you can generate motion from is doing hip rotation. And I think like Thorfinn said, the reason that you have your hand in the position it is because you're trying to augment your defense. Well, you've been fighting for 3 years. You're supposed to suck right now, right? You're going to lose some fights. Okay.
Yeah.
So put your stick on your shoulder. Trust your defense, trust your shield, trust your defensive tool, and understand too that your defense is probably a lot better than you think it is if you were to allow it to do that. But I think putting your stick on your shoulder, your mechanics are going to be better, and your defense is probably way better than you think it is.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right, we're going to have to jump in and get started with Kieran here. So before we do, Kieran, now that you've seen us kind of beating up on Paul a little bit, are you sure you up for this?
Bring it.
All right. Let's see. Now I think I figured out how to actually share this. What was what I was looking at? That one. Almost there. Look at that. I actually do this right this time. All right. So this is one of the so you had 3 fights you sent us that were from Crown Tourney, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
This is one of the first ones here.
Okay, hang on. Before we even start, we're going to do this right. We're going to ask him, what is he currently working on? What were goals? So,
and also say who you are. I'll be honest, I don't know your arms. So
yeah, which one are you?
I got them right there. I put them up there for you. Didn't you? You were
you know what? That looked like one of those privacy barriers. I don't look past.
Oh. Yeah, purple, white, and the chevron.
The one on the left.
Got you.
All right. So what are you working on, Kieran?
I am working on implementing the advice I got from my knight, which was I'm battling Ulfkel, who is our current king squire, Murdoch, and he said that Ulfkel likes to define the range, and if you let him, he'll just crawl up your shorts. That's where he wants to be. So don't let. So I was trying to.
Okay, hang on, Kieran. Let me cut you off a little bit. So we're talking about we're looking for generic. What are you working on in your fight, sort of things, not specifically how you're approaching this particular fight. And I know.
Well, I mean, it was Crown. I was trying to get the best fight that I could. So calm.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's. I mean, with it being Crown, that's not really the time to be fixing things anyway. Oh, sorry. I got to maximize the YouTube.
Well, I did ask him what he was working on.
Is that better?
Oh, wait. Okay.
You did. Yeah. Good job, Helga.
Right,
never mind. That's Oliver. Still, same thing.
I was just saying, this guy's got a cool kit, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yours is nice, too, but I mean, I just like 12th century stuff.
All right, we're going to go ahead and play through this.
Yeah, hey, Sean, go back 12 seconds again. Let's just start that again at maybe a slower speed, because I think that I'm seeing something with I'm trying to make sure I'm actually seeing it.
This is quarter speed.
Yep.
Ooh, shit.
Okay. That happens. Is this shape of shield that you're fighting with pretty standard where you're at right now in Aethelmearc?
No, I'm one of the few people that have a rectangular shield.
Okay. And okay, and it's side strapped, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There it is. Okay. I see what's going on. Was that a hip?
Oh, I backed it up. No, he got killed.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay. This next shot results in a kill. Got it. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There you go.
No, that guy should salute you on his way out. I mean, out of politeness, but
This is you versus Drusillas.
Yes.
Not sure what happened there.
I got him with the face thrust at the end.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Okay. Let's see.
it's all the same day.
Yes.
And this is the Squire. The next one is the Squire to His Majesty. Oath
Correct.
kill.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, he fights with the same shield. Interesting.
Did you not notice that when you were fighting him?
No, I just said that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was like, he said like only like 4 people fight with these rectangle shields, and there 2 of them right here. So
Yeah.
they're strapped very different though. He does like to get in your face, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm trying
wins
to
fights.
see where you got the arm hit.
It took a little bit to acknowledge.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
happens.
so it was earlier on then.
So it's like early in this exchange
Yeah, it's in this pass right here, right?
because I left my arm out and
Oh, right
boom.
there.
I
So
think
you
right
hit like,
there, or the next one. Yeah, something like that.
you hit like
And
tricep.
I called right there. That was it because I called for a hold.
Okay. There's a lot of clutter in there.
That's a tanglesome.
Yeah, I
bunch
can
of stuff.
definitely see how it might not have been clear at the initial impact.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clutter there. Moving right along. That's a haymaker there too.
Right. Yeah, swinging for the fences.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh, I see. The marshal called you edge of the field, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, got it. I was wondering why there was a stoppage. That's gonna leave a mark on the young American right there.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's back that up and see that in slow motion.
Yeah, let's watch that again. This is the weirdest thing about our sport is all of our friends getting hit with clubs and everyone thinks it's funny.
Yeah, we're like, oh, I got to see that again.
That's hilarious. Comes in. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you went down low for that one, and
Yeah, your head was just, I mean, you're in a rough spot.
Yep. All right. All right, Helga, we're gonna start with you.
All right. So you did mention at the beginning of this that you're a newer fighter, so we're going to focus on I've got a couple questions first. Has your knight talked to you about facing the threat?
Or
Facing what threat?
Yeah, Tim, I think that's a concept that I think that you use really well, and a lot of people
I use this term a lot, so you hear it a lot in videos. So you are dead facing your opponent. So this is one of the things. Your opponent is actually not going to kill you. Their body mass is not going to kill you. This is the concept of basically facing the elbow or controlling the elbow in the hand. We call it facing the threat. So if you actually physically turn yourself that little bit of distance to face that, what ends up happening is you gain line and control in the fight basically for free. And you can actually see in most of these fights, you're dead staring them in the face. Like you're about to be two bulls that are wrestling, which is a lot of the reason why you're seeing a little bit of these more scrummy fights is because nobody in these fights does this actually.
Everyone's going straight chest to chest.
Everybody's straight chest to chest, like they're fighting like this. And so if you offset yourself a little bit, you actually have a better control of their shoulder, elbow, and hand. And there's the concept of if their stick can't see you, they can't hit you because we fight with a straight stick and physics is real. And so this is going to be the first chunk of feedback is in the next couple practices you do, I want you to take yourself and turn by about 10 degrees to where your body is now facing their elbow. So what it'll end up happening is you're going to get a lot more blocks basically for free because you're now making the line to your head longer and the line to your flat snap to their head much shorter. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, I don't know what gave you the impression on one of the a newer fighter. I've been fighting for 16 years.
Sorry, I've forgotten that in the introductions, it's been a 10-hour day at work, so I'm very, very sorry.
Oh, no. I totally get it. Totally get it. Sorry.
And so the other thing, that's one of the first things that I would really correct in this, and it's gonna get rid of a lot of that straight run into your fight, because it's gonna force lateral motion from your opponent naturally, and it'll force more lateral motion out of you naturally. Because when you're facing that threat, it makes the little hindbrain want to get the F out of your way, and so you'll see a little bit more rotation and a little bit more step into your fight naturally. The second one I'm going to talk about, and you can see it pretty often in your fight, is this is where I'm going to say you're used to fighting like a big dude. And you're used to fighting from your pecs up in this, and you can see it because your body is actually C-shaped backwards. So we have hyperflexion in your body backwards. And typically we see this in shorter fighters trying to reach up. And this is because I think that you're used to generating your power by lifting your hands and coming down into your opponent, because you're not connected through your abs, which are then hips, feet. And so one of the first corrections that I would make, like physically and mechanics wise, is bringing your abs up long and lean in your body is going to make it so your back, so you can't basically sit back on your hips and fight from here. It's actually going to make you engage a lot more of the muscle mass through your body. And this is a very typical thing that we see in a lot of fighters in a range of years fighting, is they're just so used to being able to be strong through the shoulders that they can basically hammer blow their hand down in versus actually connecting through their abs and getting to their opposite hip or their same side hip to generate force through. And so again, that fix is literally, it's a little yoga fix. If you think about drawing your belly button up and in and towards the middle of the back of your shoulder blades. And what that's going to do is it's going to make your abs long and lean. It's not going to brace. We don't want bracing, because bracing will stop your ability to flex and move while fighting. And so it's that little, like, just pick your belly button up, and it's actually, you can probably feel your rib cage want to shift from like a forward and cocked position, which again gets us that C shape through the spine, to as soon as you do that, it actually brings your rib cage in line very, very quickly, with still being able to give you the ability to breathe. Poor Paul got this lecture for like 9 months from me because he couldn't breathe worth the damn. And so, do you feel that?
Yeah, especially because I tend to get gassed way too easily.
So if you're getting gassed really heavy in a fight, that's also another side effect of this, is that bell backwards, you can't actually expand your diaphragm at all. So if you actually do this, actually amusingly, if anybody watching this at home right now, and you do this right now, and you bell yourself backwards and try to expand your diaphragm, you can't. You can't take a full breath. It actually forces you to breathe in the top of your lungs. Side effect of this, the brain functions in fight or flight. When the brain is in fight or flight mode, it only breathes about halfway into the lung capacity. It locks out the diaphragm. This is how we get the adrenaline dumps. It's how we get a bunch of other things. So getting ourselves into a fighting mindset where we can still see our opponents, we have to be able to use our diaphragm, because that's going to activate more of your brain, because you're actually getting more oxygen, and your brain isn't saying, I'm going to die, I must run. Because most humans, by the way, like to run away. We're not actually really big predators. We're actually kind of fragile. We are only rule the world because we have thumbs and anxiety. And so this is one way to do it, is that up and in, and this is going to be the first big correction, and it would be very interesting to see what shapes out of your fight just with that little bit of a correction. That and facing the threat, I think you're going to see an order of magnitude difference in your fight and how you can control it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw something in there real quick too. When we're looking at where your posture is, what she's talking about is you want more of a forward presence. Everything I'm seeing is you're on your heels. Something I got from Tristan, one of our great coaches here, many years ago, is the idea of where your balance is in your feet. Balance neutral versus balance positive, balance negative. If you're standing with your feet and your weight is evenly distributed front to back, that's balance neutral. As you roll back on your heels a little bit, that's what we call balance negative. And as you roll forward and you get on the balls of your feet, that's what we call balance positive. What we're looking for is a balance positive posture all the time. Because if you are on your heels, in order for you to throw a shot, you have to rotate to the balls of your feet in order for the shot to go forward, right? You can't generate motion in your stick when you're sitting on your heels. And where your heels are is, there's a direct correlation to what Helga's talking about. Like when you're legged and you're sitting on your knees, you're like, it's still back. So all of your weight is still balance negative. So we want to kind of bring that forward a little bit. So again, if you have to rotate to the balls of your feet to throw a shot to begin with, you might as well start there. right?
Yeah, because it's just adding another layer of your body movement,
Yeah.
which is slowing things down.
Yeah, it's one more thing you have to do. So I think finding that balance positive where you're on the balls of your feet is going to bring your shoulders forward a little bit more. So you don't have that C cut that she's talking about, which is going to, and again, that's the direction that the fight is. So let's put ourselves in a posture that is moving towards where the fight is. Does that make sense, Kieran?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, try to find that more balanced positive, and that goes to exactly what Helga was talking about. Thorfinn, okay.
Yeah,
First off, do you have any questions about what Helga was saying?
So like a lot of what I'm hearing and a lot of what I have heard is newsflash, not new. I've been told this and it all makes sense. And now I've been fighting long enough where some things are starting to click and some of it more than others. So I completely agree with what you're saying, but what I'm seeing, like especially when you're slowing down and pointing these things out, it's like, oh, yes, that used to be a really bad problem. In these instances, I seem to have corrected this, but now I get in an instance and I revert back and I'm not aware that, oh my God, I'm balanced negative, or I'm really on my heels. I need to correct that. And I'm wondering if there's how you tune your awareness sensor to catch this, or is it all, like you said, Sean, that it's Pell work, it's Pell work, it's Pell work. You work on something at practice and you get it until you can't get it wrong, and then it just doesn't go wrong again.
Something to that. Helga's got
Yes,
something on that.
yes.
I guarantee you walk around life like this, actually. So the posture we have in fighting is a posture we mimic in real life. And so we always revert back to what's super easy. And so I probably guarantee that what you do is you actually park on your hips a lot while standing, especially having conversations. You probably park out in your hips. You have overloaded quads because it's a very constant thing in your fight, which means it's systemic in how you carry yourself through life. And so where I'd actually start working on this is purposely walking, amusingly enough. And this is something that, again, a lot of my students all have to deal with, is we all relearn how to walk together. Is because a lot of people park. We sit at a desk most of the time, so we learn how to slump forward, or we park backwards and we type with our hands forward, which throws our shoulders forward. And so what I would say is, anytime you're trying to deal with posture in a fight, look at how you're using this posture in real life and start, this is your Pell work. This is your posture Pell work, is purposely reaching out for your cup of coffee in the morning with your shoulder blades back and down, which most people don't think about. We're tired. We don't want to think about posture and everything else like that. But purposely thinking about how you're sitting at your computer right now. Are you pulling your belly button up and in so you can actually take a full breath? When you're standing there talking stick with your friends, are you parked back and kicking one hip over and then talking with your hands and fighting from here up? Guarantee that's how you fight. You can actually tell a lot from how a person fights by how they talk about fighting outside of it, because they mimic it. It's when we're lazy is when you can actually see so much about a fighter. And so I'd say start practicing this, walking around, cooking, getting in and out of your car, learning how to sit down in your chair correctly. There's amusingly enough, most people do that wrong too, which is hilarious. But that like PT posture background will change your fight.
All right, Thorfinn.
Okay, so first fight with the knight. He managed to basically leg you because he just threw his arm into a neutral position, and you reacted, which is he was doing a fake, but
Are you talking about the left-handed? You talking about the left-handed fighter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and literally the thing is that what my point though is that you reacted to something that you didn't need to. You could have just left your shield in it where it was at. And this is a little bit of, again, confidence. You have to know that your defense is good enough you don't have to do something. Because what you did was you moved it up there and then you never brought it back. Mm-hmm. It just stayed there. And so that's basically how they got you. I'm wondering if your shield does your knight do the same shield?
No, he has a heater.
Are you getting input from anybody that fights with that style about how that shield is strapped. Because if looking at it, I'm wondering if it's a little bit too flat, which is when you, so you're not getting the corner. So the whole point of that you know, the top of that shield is that you're get that the corner over here to block. But the way it's strapped is it's coming in flat the whole time. Your shield's like this, so you're not getting any spot that gives you that good protection. Plus, a rectangle will give you, if you have this corner up, it gives you the leg corner to block with. The opposite one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you're doing flat, then what happens is you're not getting either of those two things. And this is something that maybe a gear issue that you could fix. Look into it, maybe adjust a bit, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back, right?
Right.
And so I think that could be part of the problem there. Definitely focus on balls of your feet. Like Sean was saying, once you get back on your heels, you can't move your feet at all. You're nailed to the ground. So while you're at practice or at the Pell, take actual notice of how you're on the balls of your feet, how you can easily shift from one side to the other of your body, right? Helga mentioned earlier how depending on where the blow is going, which leg connects to the earth is pushing off and moving energy into your core. From your core, it transfers up to your shoulders and out to your sword, okay? Are you, when you said you were gassing out, are you feeling that your arm is gassing out, or are you
cardio?
You're
cardio.
Okay, you're not breathing enough. So this also could be you're holding your breath, which is super common. If I take any kind of a break from practice, I gotta go back and after 35 years go, hey, remember to breathe, ding dong. And so I do this all the time. So I tell people, I bet you're probably not breathing, right? Because what happens is you start going, I got to move my shield. I got to not be on my heels. I got to, you know, and then the last thing your body's doing is going, oh, remember to breathe. You know, also Helga says ride a bike, but in all fairness, I do believe that you're probably holding your breath. I think that some of your shield stuff could be that your shield is not in the optimum position for the defense. You want your shield to be giving you something in neutral, right? When you get into your defensive stance, it has to be providing something. Otherwise, you need to change your shield, right? And so those are the kind of like the big picture items. And these are all things that you can do while at the Pell. Okay, so while you're at the Pell, you practice making sure that your shield is in the right position. You practice swinging the shot and making sure it does not go out of position. Make sure that you're not going back onto your heels, right? And you know, and feel your body. Sometimes just spend time just doing nothing but feeling yourself coil from the ground up, so you can understand how the energy transfers through your body, right? That's kind of my little input there. Everyone else was so concise. I feel like I was over here doing that.
Well, and Kieran, one of the things that we're, you know, kind of addressing, kind of what you're talking about, you know, I mean, the question that always comes up at this point is, got all these things to look at and fix, and what do we do first, right? Big thing is some of this information, you're just going to have to let it wash over you a little bit. Just kind of soak it in.
Sure.
You cannot fix. I mean, you can only fix one thing at a time, really. But I would say, generally speaking, find about 3 of these things that would be a priority. And when we're looking at what to fix and what to work on, you know, you're looking at, and you know, there's several different ways that you can approach, you know, what to pick, right? We can look at, you know, what is the thing that is the biggest problem, or we can fix that. Or let us look at something that might be less of a problem, but it is going to be more beneficial. That is going to help fix other things along the way. And you can also have 2 or 3 things in mind that you're generally working on, that you go to practice one night and you're working on your footwork, and it's just not happening for you. Find something else that you can work with, right? Find something else that you can work on and focus on and fix. But as we were telling Paul earlier, when you fix one thing, something else is going to suffer. That's just the nature of isolating and eliminating. That's the training process, right? And you just got to be good with that. When one of the things that we talk about with victory conditions, as Helga was mentioning, we talk about this a lot. One of the things about this is when you go to practice and you say, I'm going to work on having a better posture. I'm going to work on finding that balanced positive stance that I want to be in. You work on that, like, to the exclusion of everything else, and you work on it to the extent that any victory that you get that does not include improvement in the one thing you're working on
is a loss.
Right? Because the whole point is, like, the victory is you becoming a better fighter because you made an improvement on a thing that you know is a deficiency. But it is so easy for us, and again, this goes out to everybody else that's watching. It is so easy to go to practice like, oh, I'm going to work on this thing, and then you start losing fights, right? Because that's what happens when you're doing something you're not very good at. You lose, right? And then eventually that ego kicks in, and you're like, I just want to win some fights. And you go back to the same old shit you've been doing, and because it works, and it gets that dopamine hit, it gets you some kills, and that's great, and that feels wonderful, but it doesn't make you a better fighter, right? And so, again, for everybody else out there watching, that's the whole thing about the victory conditions is I'm working on this one thing, and I'm going to stick to that, and I may lose all my fights. Lose all my fights all night long, but I got better at that one thing. So as you're looking at some of the things that we're talking about here, I think clearly the balance and the posture is going to be a thing that is going to be, again, in this case, checks a couple of boxes in that it is one of your bigger problems, and it is the thing that is going to be most beneficial to your fighting as well. I think this is going to be something that is relatively easy to fix, that is going to have greater benefits long term. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But otherwise, take all the other stuff that we're talking about, and and as you kind of get starting to work on these sort of things, the nature of the learning process is that you get better at the one thing, and the next greatest deficiency reveals itself in its own time. You don't have to go searching for what the next problem is, because as you get better at the one thing, that is now less of a deficiency, and the next thing just kind of reveals itself because it has to. Does it make sense?
So, hey, Kieran, a friend of mine sent me a message. The boots you're wearing in that video they look like they're wellies?
Yeah, it was 40 something degrees and raining, so I did not.
Okay, so
yeah, that's not my normal fighting gear.
Okay, I was saying, because that is what falls under in my world is that don't fight your gear, fight your opponent, right? And so maybe I feel what you're saying. Okay, makes sense now. I was like, maybe you weren't connecting to the ground at all because you couldn't even feel the ground, and that's part of it too. So thanks, Cass, for jumping in and giving me that question, because I was like, I did think about that. I thought it was funny. No, so to piggyback on what Sean was saying is that at fighter practices, you're going to take one thing away and try and work on that every practice, right? Because we're just going to vomit a bunch of stuff at you and all the people that are working with you, and it's going to be a lot to take in. As a matter of fact, probably too much usually. And so if you could just grab one thing and you take that thing and you make that your new thing, right? And as you grind forward, right, what's going to end up happening is the things that were working for you in the past, they were working for you. They're not the most successful. Right. They were working for you. Are going to start to clash with these new techniques, and your gears that used to grind work are going to be like this, right? And then what's going to happen is you're going to keep working until suddenly honestly, the most awkward part will be right before everything works. It's because what happens is your body and your kind of muscle memory is shedding bad ideas, adding new ideas, and all of a sudden your gears are just going to be perfect again, right? And this is leveling. You'll find that people talk about when they leveled up or they jumped up or they made something like that. That's what's happening to them. is that their body is actually shedding the old techniques that they used to use that were comfortable and adding in the other ones through experience that are now comfortable and more successful. And you just have to trust in this kind of process. And so it's a whole thing,
I am
man.
very familiar with this process.
Yeah.
Like I said, it took me longer to work through certain things than a lot of others, but I did.
And once you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel you.
And it's just figuring out now, like you said, Sean, like, okay, what's the next problem that has floated to the surface that is obvious now that these other problems aren't problems anymore? You glare on what's next that needs the attention, because that's the gear that's squeaking.
Right. And keep in mind, these other problems, yes, they are still problems. They're just less of a problem than the bigger one. And like you said, you fix the biggest problem.
Yeah, chip away, right? You chip away.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
You just keep chipping away. And I think this is also a good time to point out too that, like, when we're talking about the training process, we keep coming back around to the same things over and over again as far as making improvements on these things. We think of the training cycle as being cyclical, and it's helical. As you're coming back to working on something again. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, I just fixed my stick. I thought I fixed my stick mechanics, or I've been working on that. And all of a sudden that's, now I have to go back to that and work on that again. But now you're working at it from a higher understanding. You're working at it from a higher level, and you're going to continually refine every part of your fight. I mean, all of us are still doing it. I mean,
we're all on the path still. I mean, it's not like we figured it out. We're done.
I've got some concepts that I'm working on at our practice involving range and measure and controlling the fight and space and all that. That I mean, it's not basic posture stuff that we're talking about with you, Kieran. But it's still a range, it's still stance, and I'm working at this at a very high level. But I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to understand, that particular concept, and we keep coming back to it. We just. Again, it's helical. It's not secular. It's not just I'm doing the same thing, the same stuff that I had to do 2 years ago, or a year ago, or 6 months ago. It's like, yeah, but you're doing it from a higher level, and now you're refining it even further. And that's the process. Is just keep chipping away at everything like that.
Yep.
So, and that from your scribal work.
Correct. It's the same process.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I know that from being a teacher.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, if you're an educator, then you definitely understand training methodology.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We are coming up out of time here. So Kieran, I'm going to ask you, do you have any questions about anything that we've gone over? Is there anything else you don't understand that you'd like a little bit more
on? Honestly, I understand everything that you said. And it's just putting more things into context and seeing 3 fights versus seeing somebody regularly at events and practices. I know that helps fill in the puzzle pieces about what your fight is, what you're good at, what you're working on, and what's really lacking. But no, this was helpful and educational. Also, just like looking at what you're looking at on film, because I want to learn how to look at my own film and look for stuff. But
yeah, for sure,
I don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. So I need somebody to knock on my head and say, look at this. And then from that, you can glean these things, which then you can apply to your Pell work and practice.
So a few years ago when we started this, didn't we have a document that kind of described?
I posted it already.
She already posted it. So go ahead and read that document at the beginning of our the chat
I'll
group
make
thing.
sure to send it to you too.
And it'll help you understand what we look at and why we look at.
And Kieran, you'll notice that as we were kind of going through your fights there, we go really slow right at the point of impact. Like as soon as there is a blow that is acknowledged as being good, we look at that. That's the point that we look at, right? And we're going to look at like 5 to 10 seconds before that. So anytime you're looking at your fight, somebody else's fight, as soon as somebody acknowledges a blow, that's your start point, right? So you back that up, and again, it could be 5 to 10 seconds before the actual blow impacted, before you can really figure out what happened.
Yeah, correct.
But
Because there's a lot of things that probably built that moment to happen.
Absolutely,
right? And so you need to be able to learn to look for those things in a video. I will tell you, everyone out there, all 22 of you watching us or whatever it is, video review is huge. If you can, I can guarantee you, there's not a single successful boxer, martial artist, wrestler, anything in the world, even football players, everything, that does not watch video of what they're doing and then use that to correct their problems, right? And so this is an option that you get a GoPro or get a friend with even an iPhone, for God's sakes, and just film practice. Go inside afterwards or someplace and just watch it, because I'm going to tell you, I watch videos almost every night of some of them are even about fighting, and I'm going to tell you. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself. But
some of them are not fighting.
Yeah, some of them are not fighting. My point is, I watch them, and I watch, so many videos of people out there, and I will slow them down and watch them frame by frame almost, to see how they're generating their power, what they're doing, and that's also, you can learn like that way too, right? So then you can say, I see what they're doing. I can break that down and add that maybe into my fight as well. So video analysis is a magical tool that we have nowadays. Please, everyone out there, take advantage of that. And it's a game changer.
Like, that's why we started doing this. Is there are plenty of people that do video, but they don't know what to do with it. And it's like, I got hit. Oh look, that sucked. Here, let me back that up and watch me suck again.
Right.
But being able to actually, there is a process for how we look at this and how we break that down. We've covered that in several of our videos, but that's why we started doing this particular series on the Coach's Corner, so people can get a sense of how we do it, what we're looking at, the things that we're seeing, and we're all huge proponents of video review for sure. So, all right, we gotta wrap up here a little bit. Helga, you got any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, or take notes, and pick the brains. That'd be great right now.
Brains are done. Brains are super done.
Sorry. Actually, I'm going to point out a different thing. I was debating on doing this or not, and then I'm actually going to point out that Sean, Thorfinn, you, like, all three of us were kind of talking about the same thing in these fights. In three different ways. And that's the cool part about, like, the coaches coming together and doing things like this, is all of us were talking about getting you in the proper stack to fight. Again, we just said it in three different ways. So what I would really say is, like, take this away. Everybody out there, take this away, is when you have a bunch of people commenting on your fights, likely you're going to see a common thread. Even if they're not using the same language, you're going to find a common thread. And if that's happening, that is very likely the deficiency in your fight right now. And they're going to give you a bunch of other language, because all of us, you stick a quarter in us, we don't want to shut up about fighting. Yeah. It's the love of our life. We have to tell everybody how pretty it is and, like, pet it and show it off and be like, this is the prettiest rock we found. But the thing is that you can find commonalities in all the feedback. And if you're seeing commonalities in the feedback, you're likely seeing what is the biggest thing in your fight at any given moment. And so this is for you and everybody watching while you're getting feedback, is listen for those consistencies. And those consistencies are going to tell you where you want to go. I'm assuming we're rolling to wrap up right now.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you guys very, very much. Actually, like, this is an amazing time. And you give us the opportunity to sit here and look at your fight and go over different things and tell you a bunch and, like, basically data dump you for an hour and a half. And so thank you very much for being willing to be vulnerable, coming on this show, being open-minded about feedback, and giving us the opportunity to sit here and try to give you something that you can move forward and go with. And so just both of you guys are giving us a gift. So please keep being as cool as you are.
Thank you.
Thorfinn?
Yeah, I want to also say that thank you both for coming on. And also thank you to Sean and Helga for having me as someone that you would trust to be doing this. I appreciate that, and it's a huge honor. I want to say I just celebrated my 30th 90 anniversary, which felt pretty good. Nothing like Sean. Sean was 90 at like 16 or something. But
I'm at
you know,
38. 38.
yeah, exactly. But it felt really cool, and you know, I still feel like I'm learning after 30 years, folks. And so take that into consideration, is that you're just stepping on the path, and it's never done. Okay. And Helga, this is the coolest rock I have found. Look at this thing. It's nearly perfect. I mean, like this, like God made a skipping stone. I'm afraid to throw it. It's so good. Like this would kill you know, a Goliath, this type of rock.
That's what if
Anyway,
you got to air tag it so you can get it back.
yeah, right, exactly. I'm gonna go plate this fucker. Anyways, my lady's gonna take me out to my birthday dinner because yesterday was my birthday.
Oh,
So
happy birthday, sir.
thanks, folks. Love you guys. Thank you,
Right.
and also keep rock and roll in your heart.
That's right. All right, guys. Paul, Kieran, thank you again. Like they said, thanks for coming on and letting us do this. Hopefully, you got some good information to work on and something actionable, and hopefully, some folks out there in Wonderland have been able to kind of, you know, maybe find some solutions for some of the stuff they're doing as well. We love doing this series. We got another one coming up in another 3 months. I'm not sure who that is, but be ready for that. I think it's June, so August. When are we doing that? May,
I was
June,
about to say,
I don't know.
another thing.
Fuck, is it really August?
We set them up quarterly, so I think I think the next one might be August.
Okay.
It's been great having you guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the great comments in the comment section. Really appreciate that. All the questions we had there. Sorry we couldn't get to everything.
Go back and read them too.
We'll try to answer some of those offline as well. Robert St. John says he thinks it's him for the next episode. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, honestly, people, I mean, volunteer. It's brave to step up, but I think that a lot of people that we've talked to and dealt with have got a lot out of like this, a good growth thing out of it. And I think that sometimes it's just seeing what you're doing.
I will say the numbers are actually staggering.
Right?
The number of people who have done video review for us and then have been knighted and won crown, no less than 15.
Right.
People that we've had on this show that have gone on to be knighted later. And at least four that I know that have won crown.
And both of you, I offer at any time, if Kieran, we're not friends on the facing group or whatever thing, reach out and I will do it. If you have questions, you can hit me up. I subscribe to so many video channels because, like I said, it's like a hyper addiction. That I'll share like all my YouTube channels, and then we can talk about sumo wrestling too, right? I mean, super rad. I love sumo wrestling, so
all right.
That's the other videos I watch.
Thanks everybody for watching. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Night.